Hi guys, Susie here with Reality News.
A mandate for reform if, of course, they can land the job. Trump has suffered at least one defeat on that front so far, Matt Gaetz withdrawing his name from consideration for Attorney General just 8 days after it had been announced. And of course, getting Trump's other controversial picks, Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., approved by the Senate could pose the first great test for just how far a Congress dominated by Republicans will let Trump go.
I think ultimately this is a decision that President Trump made to bring in another disruptor. And I think if you look at this election, it was disruptor versus establishment. He ran on this.
In the end, it is the Republicans that are going to have to make a decision if these people are qualified for these jobs. They have the votes.
The president has done this job before. He knows exactly what he needs. He knows who he wants to put in those positions.
He wants us to have these hearings done quickly and expeditiously. I've said I'm more than happy to work through the weekends as long as it takes to get this done.
From what I'm hearing from my Republican colleagues on everything from defense secretary to other posts, it sounds like they are ready to roll over for Mr. Trump.
All right, our panel's here to discuss. Isaac Dever, CNN senior reporter, Lulu Garcia-Navarro, CNN contributor and a New York Times journalist, Megan Hayes, the former director of message planning at the Biden White House, and Matt Gorman, Republican strategist and former advisor to Tim Scott's presidential campaign. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. So, Matt, we've focused so much on, obviously there are personal issues for a number of Donald Trump's nominees. Matt Gaetz, of course, withdrew in no small part over them. But some of these, the ideological diversity on display, not something that a lot of the Republicans in the Senate are going to be used to voting for. I mean, the abortion rights question with Kennedy, the union questions for the labor secretary pick, he's asking for a lot.
You know, as you're reading the Axios snippet, I thought about the fact that, look, this was an ideologically diverse coalition that enabled Trump to win. It was the Teamsters, in a lot of respects, speaking at the Republican convention. You had a working class vote. Obviously, some of the Kennedy vote you had go to Trump. So in a large part, this is a makeup of the voting coalition for Trump that propelled him to win. And you're right. There's some murmuring on the right about Lori Chavez DeRemer and her ties to kind of unions, close ties to unions. But also you're seeing a little bit of grumbling about Kennedy. And I think, it seems that Hegseth, Gabbard, and Kennedy are among the trio that will have kind of the toughest confirmation fight. My money right now could be on Kennedy having the toughest, simply because you're getting it from the right with the abortion or the pro-life advocates. And you're also having kind of pharma, food processors. There's a lot of kind of
industry,
that come
shall
in.
we say.
Industries, that could come in and oppose him.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Megan. I mean, we've quoted a GOP aide here at CNN in our reporting who said that Tulsi Gabbard actually may have the toughest confirmation fight. Others that on this program have noted that if something is going to protect RFK Jr., it is his connection with voters, right? And like his Kennedy name and the fact that he has sort of popularity and is well known in a way that some of these others aren't.
Yeah, I think so. And also some of the stuff that he wants to do with some of the food processing and some of those arguments I think a lot of people would agree with. Why does the UK have 3 ingredients when we have 14 ingredients in our food? And
it's a fair question.
100%. And so I think that some people might agree with there. And I also think his pro-choice stance, is favorable to Democrats. There's a lot of things. I actually think Tulsi Gabbard is going to have the hardest thing. I just think there is way too much out there. The intelligence community is extremely tight and extremely tight-knit, and I just think that some of her actions in the past and some of the reporting, I think, is going to trip her up.
I mean, national security is the one place where, I covered the whole Trump administration from Capitol Hill. That was one of the few places where you would see them actually kind of push back.
I think Tulsi Gabbard, I agree, is going to have the hardest confirmation fight. There is just a long history there of her cozying up to America's enemies, and not just like, oh, are they our enemies today or are they not? But like actually people who are bad, by every single
like
estimation.
Bashar al-Assad?
Like Bashar al-Assad, who massacred his own people, and others, and I think there's going to be other shoes that are going to drop. So I think she's going to really, really fight to get confirmed.
What kind of position, Isaac, is this going to put Democrats in? I mean, so it's not just Axios that's kind of writing this story. Our friend of the show, David Sanger, wrote this news analysis that's out this morning in the New York Times. Diversity of ideology, opinion, usually seen as a strength, not a defect of presidential cabinets. If there is a surprise about Mr. Trump's choices in recent days, it is the range of experiences and worldviews that in some cases lie just beneath the veneer of recently declared Make America Great Again loyalty and loyalty to Mr. Trump himself. It's hard to imagine a few of his picks sitting comfortably at a Trump rally. There is more ideological diversity here than I expected, Michael Beschloss, a presidential historian, noted on Saturday. And if you look at this group, the context of history, there's some potential here for arguments and debates. Beschloss continued, if those debates are allowed to unfold in a civilized and open manner, history shows that such conflict has sometimes led to policies that worked. And there were some statements out over the weekend, for example, from unions, basically praising Trump's labor secretary pick.
Yeah, and I think you're right that with Robert Kennedy, we are likely to see at least a couple of Senate Democrats lean toward voting for him for confirmation, if not actually vote for him.
Really? For RFK?
Yeah.
Who are we looking at?
You can see, for example, Cory Booker, who is as devoted a Democrat as there is, has said things that are in line with what Kennedy has said about what's going on with foods and the ingredients in foods. So maybe, we'll see. I'm certainly not predicting that Booker will vote for it, but I think that there is some room there. The question here, I think, going forward is we can talk about the ideological diversity. Often the word loyalty is used to describe the relationship to Trump. It was in Sanger's article. I think more what you see in practice is from Trump an interest in obedience, right? And he is not very loyal to people. He expects people to be loyal to him. And that is the question here with the Senate confirmations. Will the Republican Senate actually buck his choices? And then when it comes to governing, will these secretaries, whoever gets confirmed, I assume most of them will be confirmed, if not all of them, will they be obedient to him? Will he care what they're doing? Will he take an approach similar to what he did in his first term of sort of running the White House and not being that interested in what's going on in each of these departments? But no matter what, every president, at least in the last 20 years, we have this conversation about, what's the cabinet going to do? And then they don't do much in terms of shaping what the administration. Right? It's not like we had these robust meetings during Joe Biden's cabinet, robust discussions during Joe Biden's cabinet meetings of what the administration was going to do, or in Donald Trump's first term, or in Barack Obama's term, or it's just.
Well, but individuals tend to.
Well, actually, what I think is going to really shape this moment is what they're not going to do. I mean, I think what Trump is coming in and promising is to dismantle the government in the way that we understand it. And so a lot of these picks are coming in with the mandate not to reform and change, but to kind of destroy. And I mean that, in a kind of, you can look at it as the phoenix rising from destruction, or you can look at it as destroying in the sense of what the system of government as we understand it. But either way, that is what they're coming in, and that's what the Project 2025 pick and et cetera,
right.
is
and
about.
I think that's right with Vaught in at the Office of Management and Budget. That's one of these offices that nobody knows what it is. Right? Except if you're in the government, you know exactly
right,
what
and
it
you know
is,
how powerful
right?
it is.
And you know how powerful it is. And him there, a very clear ideology of what he wants to do, very clear direction, whether it's with Project 2025 or anything else. That is something that will shape what this government is looking like.
And to your point there, it's also the people who are right underneath, the assistant secretaries, the deputy secretaries that are right underneath that are going to be these Project 2025 ideologues that are going to do exactly what Trump wants. So the figureheads of the secretaries where they are qualified and diverse, it's not really them, it's going to be the next picks down and the picks after that.
But to be fair also, we talk about doing exactly what Trump wants, it's a negative. The man was elected. He was the one person who advanced, and I'm not saying, who faced the voters. So obedience, whatever we call it, they should implement his vision. That's the job of the cabinet secretaries and everybody who's appointed by him to his government to usher in his vision. And
but there's a difference here, though. I mean, what the vision is of the GOP now is to really kind of have an imperial presidency. It is very different than the kind of system that we've had where there is a Justice Department that is independent, where there is, under each sort of department has a certain latitude to implement laws as they see fit, and that is fundamentally going to change under Trump.
I don't think anyone is saying that all of a sudden people are going to stop disregarding laws. I think they're going to implement his vision and a way to kind of implement his vision for the country and his policies.
But you do see when it comes to the Justice Department that Trump, when he was president the first time, he would often talk about how he felt the Attorney General should act sort of as his lawyer. But that is not the job of the Attorney General of the United States. The job is to be the lawyer of the federal government. And that is something that has frustrated a lot of previous presidents about their relationship to their AGs. I don't think that when Trump was picking Matt Gaetz or Pam Bondi as the replacement, what he was looking for was an independent approach to federal prosecution.
Well, certainly, I take your point, Matt, that there is a balance here, right? He did get elected president of the United States, but also we are seeing him promise to do things that, if actually implemented in the way he says, would be an unprecedented situation for the government. Now, maybe that's what Americans voted for.